You know, that feeling when the person you love most is slipping away, and you are completely powerless to stop it. When you have done everything right, everything a person is supposed to do, and it is still not enough. I sat on a wooden bench outside Vanderbilt University Hospital, clutching my hands together until my knuckles turned white. Spring air, blooming dogwoods, sunlight on glass, and my husband Daniel Carter lying in the intensive care unit behind those walls fighting for his life against something we never saw coming. People passed by talking softly about dinner and gardens and ordinary things, and for 1 second I wished I could be one of them. Just a woman enjoying a warm afternoon, not a wife watching her husband disappear. I was a nurse. I had spent years helping other people heal. And I could not save the man I loved most. The doctor had pulled me aside that morning. His words were careful and deliberate and completely devastating. "Emily, we are running out of options. If we do not find a compatible donor soon." He did not finish the sentence. He did not have to. What I did not know sitting on that bench was that the answer was not in any hospital database. It was not in any registry. It was 2 hours away in a small mountain town, and it was about to find me through the most unlikely thing in the world. An overheard conversation between two people on their lunch break. Daniel used to be unstoppable, the kind of man who worked a 12-hour day building custom furniture, then came home with enough energy left to cook dinner and ask me about my day. He had this way of smiling that made you believe everything would be okay, even when life felt impossibly heavy. He was my safe place, my steady ground. We met on the night when life felt light and ordinary. I had just finished my final exam at nursing school. Exhausted but free, my friends dragged me to a little cafe in downtown Nashville, an old brick building with worn wooden floors and the smell of roasted coffee that clung to everything. He walked in carrying a paper bag of hardware from the local supply store, his jeans dusty from work. And there was this calmness about him, the kind of quiet confidence that makes you look twice. He smiled shyly when our eyes met and asked if the seat across from me was taken. We talked for 2 hours about everything and nothing. How he loved building furniture, how I wanted to work in pediatrics, how we both hated olives but loved peach cobbler. When he laughed, his eyes crinkled in the corners, and something in me just knew. 2 years later, we were standing under an old oak tree saying our vows. I wore my mother's pearl earrings, and Daniel cried openly when he saw me walking down the aisle. He was not the type of man who tried to hide emotion. He believed in showing love fully without hesitation. We moved into a small wooden house on the edge of town. A fixer-upper Daniel insisted he could handle himself. And he did. He spent weekends sanding floors and building shelves. He crafted a rocking chair for me as our first anniversary gift. That chair still sits on our porch, a silent witness to countless evenings side by side watching fireflies dance in the Tennessee twilight. Life felt full, even if it was not perfect. The only thing missing was children. We tried for years. Doctors said my body was not cooperating, that I might never conceive naturally. We tried treatments, hormone shots, endless appointments, eventually IVF. The first attempt failed, so did the second. With each negative test, I felt a little more broken. As if my body had betrayed both of us, but Daniel never once blamed me. He would hold me on those nights when I cried until my head ached and whisper, "Emily, this does not change how much I love you." One day, after another failed cycle, I collapsed in his arms, apologizing through tears, saying, "You deserve a wife who can give you a family." He gently tilted my chin so I would meet his eyes and said, "Emily, I did not marry you for children. I married you for you. You are my family." That was Daniel, steadfast, kind, selfless. He could have been angry or resentful or distant. Instead, he chose love every single time. It started so quietly, we did not even notice at first. Daniel would come home from the shop earlier than usual, brushing off his fatigue with a smile. Just tired, long day, that is all, but the tiredness did not fade. It grew heavier, like something invisible was pulling him down every single day. Then came the bruises, small at first, like he had bumped into a workbench, but soon they appeared without reason. Purple blotches blooming across his arms and legs. One night, I woke up to the sound of him gasping for breath, clutching his chest as if he could not get enough air. The nurse in me knew something was deeply wrong. When he finally agreed to see a doctor, I thought it would be something simple. A vitamin deficiency, maybe. Stress, perhaps. Instead, we were led to a hematology specialist who ordered every test imaginable. I will never forget the moment the results came back. The doctor sat us down, his face too serious, his words deliberate and measured and terrible. "Daniel, you have aplastic anemia. It is rare, and in your case it is severe. Your bone marrow is shutting down." I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. Daniel just nodded calm as always and asked, "What do we do?" The answer was both simple and impossible. You need a bone marrow transplant. Without it, your body cannot produce blood cells. The process requires a donor match, ideally a sibling or close relative. I remember looking at Daniel, silently begging him to say there was someone, but I already knew there was not. Daniel had grown up in foster care, bounced from home to home, never knowing his parents or any siblings. He had no family tree to turn to, no one to call. We signed up for the National Donor Registry immediately. But the doctors were honest. It could take months, maybe longer, to find a compatible stranger, and Daniel did not have that kind of time. The disease moved fast. He became pale, his strong hands trembling when he tried to pick up a cup. The man who once built furniture until midnight now struggled to walk across the living room. Even then, he tried to protect me. He joked about hospital gowns, about how he had always wanted to try that bald look. At night, when he thought I was asleep, I could hear him whispering prayers, asking for strength not for himself. For me, I would hold his hand in the hospital bed and force a smile, saying things like, "We are going to beat this." But inside I was terrified, terrified of losing him, terrified of waking up to an empty house, terrified of facing a life I had not planned for. One afternoon, after another round of transfusions, the doctor pulled me aside. His voice was gentle, but carried the weight of finality. "Emily, we are running out of options. If a match does not come through soon, I am afraid he does not have much time." I nodded, unable to speak, feeling the tears burn behind my eyes. I had seen death before. Working as a nurse, you face it more often than most people. But nothing prepared me for the thought of losing Daniel. I walked outside into the hospital courtyard, desperate for air, desperate for anything that could steady me. That is when I heard it. 2 hospital employees were on break nearby, talking casually, completely unaware I could hear them. "You know that guy in the ICU, Carter? He looks just like this guy who lives out in Pine Hollow." I swear it is like looking at the same person. My heart stopped. Pine Hollow, a small mountain town just 2 hours away. Could it be nothing more than coincidence? Or could it mean Daniel had family out there? Someone who might be a match? For the first time in weeks, I felt something I had not dared to feel. Hope, fragile, trembling, but hope nonetheless. That name, that town, those 2 words from 2 strangers on a lunch break, were about to change everything. Pine Hollow was a small mountain town about a 2-hour drive east of Nashville. Daniel had grown up in foster care, abandoned at birth, with no information about his family. He had spent years wondering if there was someone out there with his same eyes, his same crooked smile, someone who might actually share his blood. I remembered the evening he admitted on our porch. "Sometimes I think about looking for them, but what if they did not want me then? Why would they want me now?" His voice had carried a quiet ache I did not know how to soothe. So he buried the thought, focused on building a life with me, choosing to believe that family was what you built, not what you were born into. But now family was not just an abstract idea. It could mean the difference between life and death. That night I barely slept. I sat at Daniel's bedside holding his hand while the machines hummed softly. And I whispered, "I am going to fix this, Danny. I do not care what it takes." The next morning I filed for emergency leave. My boss did not ask many questions. She knew Daniel's situation and just hugged me before signing the form. I packed a bag, my heart pounding with a mix of dread and determination. I did not even know this man's name. I only knew he lived in Pine Hollow and apparently looked like my husband. Before leaving, I stopped at Daniel's room. He was awake, smiling faintly when he saw me. "You look like you are about to take on the world," he teased. His voice weak but warm. I kissed his forehead and whispered I might be. I wanted to tell him everything about Pine Hollow, about the man who might be his family, but I could not risk giving him hope only to break it if it turned out to be nothing. The drive out of Nashville felt surreal. The highway gave way to winding country roads, fields of early spring wildflowers, and eventually the rolling hills of Pine Hollow. As I crossed the old wooden bridge leading into town, I whispered a silent prayer. "Please let this be real. Let there be someone out there who can save him." I stopped at the general store and approached the clerk. "Excuse me, I am looking for someone. I do not know his name, but people say he looks like this." I showed him Daniel's photo. The man's eyes widened immediately. "You are probably talking about Luke Henderson. Lives out by the cornfields on County Road 6. "Yeah, he does look like that." My heart skipped. "Could you give me directions?" He did, and I thanked him before heading back to my car. My hands were trembling on the steering wheel as I drove toward what might be the answer to every desperate prayer I had whispered in the past few months. The road to County Road 6 was little more than cracked pavement, winding through tall pines and open fields. A soft drizzle began to fall. I slowed as I spotted the mailbox with faded white letters, Henderson. The house behind it was old and weathered and surrounded by a field of corn stubble and muddy tire tracks. A rusted swing creaked in the wind. For a moment I sat in the car, gripping the steering wheel, my pulse thudding in my ears. What if I was wrong? What if I was about to knock on a stranger's door and make a complete fool of myself? But then I thought of Daniel, his frail hand clutching mine, his smile trying to hide the fear in his eyes. And I stepped out of the car. I knocked lightly at first, then harder when no one answered. After a moment, the door creaked open. A man stood there, taller than I expected, broad-shouldered, dark blonde hair falling loosely over his forehead. His eyes, my breath caught. They were the same piercing blue as Daniel's, the same shape, the same intensity. He blinked at me. "Can I help you?" His voice was deep and cautious. I held out my phone with trembling hands, showing him the picture of Daniel. "This is my husband. His name is Daniel Carter. People said you look like him." The man frowned, staring at the screen for what felt like forever. His expression shifted, confusion, disbelief, and something almost painful. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Well, I will be damned." He looked at me again. "Softer now? Who are you?" "Emily. I am his wife." He stepped aside. "You better come in." The inside of the house was humble. Wood floors, mismatched furniture, the faint smell of coffee and motor oil. I sat down, clutching my bag in my lap. "He is in the hospital," I said. "He is very sick. He needs a bone marrow transplant. They said he has no family. But then I heard about you and my voice broke. I had to come." The man Luke Henderson sat opposite me. Leaning forward, elbows on his knees, he looked at the photo again, shaking his head slowly. "I think he might be my brother." Those words hit me so hard I almost could not breathe. Your brother? Luke nodded. Our mom, she was not much of one, to be honest. She had a lot of kids, most with different fathers. When I was little, she had another baby, a boy. She said she was not keeping him. Signed papers at the hospital and left him there. I was too young to do anything, but I never forgot. Always wondered what happened to him. He rubbed his face with both hands, his voice cracking. I did not even know his name until now. My eyes blurred with tears. Daniel has been looking for family his whole life. He thought he was completely alone. Luke's jaw tightened, and he stood abruptly. I will do it. The transplant. I do not even need to think about it. He is my brother. If there is a chance I can help him live, of course I will. He walked into the kitchen and returned with his truck keys. When do we go? For a second, I just stared at him stunned. In my head, I had imagined convincing him, explaining the situation, maybe even begging, but there was none of that. It was like he had been waiting for this moment without even knowing it. We left Pine Hollow that evening, the rain now heavier. My chest felt lighter for the first time in months. There was still fear, there was always fear, but now there was also something else, hope that felt solid, like ground under my feet. When we arrived at Vanderbilt University Hospital, I led Luke through the sterile white halls to Daniel's room. Daniel was awake, propped up by pillows, his skin pale, his eyes brightening when he saw me, then narrowing in confusion when they shifted to Luke. For a long moment, no one said a word. Daniel's mouth opened slightly, like he was staring at a ghost. Luke stepped forward, emotion thick in his voice. I think I am your brother. Daniel blinked, tears welling instantly. My brother? I stood there watching two men, strangers a day ago, brothers by blood, lock eyes as if recognizing something only they could feel. Daniel reached out a shaking hand, and Luke took it firmly. We will talk later, Luke said softly, but right now I am here to save your life. Luke's test results came back faster than expected. The doctors wanted to expedite everything because Daniel's condition was deteriorating quickly. When the hematologist stepped into the waiting room with that soft, relieved smile, my knees nearly gave out. He is a strong match, she said, one of the best we have seen in a while. I turned to Luke, tears brimming in my eyes. You can save him. Luke's expression wavered between shock and determination. Then let's do it. When do we start? That night, Daniel and Luke finally had time to sit together. I stayed just outside the doorway, giving them privacy. But I could still hear their voices, low, emotional, hesitant at first, then warmer as minutes passed. Daniel's voice broke as he said, I used to dream about having a brother. I thought it was stupid, like dreaming about a house you will never live in. But here you are, real. Luke chuckled quietly, though his voice was thick. Guess life had other plans, huh? I am sorry I was not there, Danny. I did not even know. You do not have to be sorry, Daniel said, gripping Luke's hand with surprising strength. You are here now. That is all that matters. When I stepped back into the room, Daniel looked at me with damp eyes and whispered, I have a brother. I am not alone. I kissed his forehead and smiled, whispering back, you never were. The procedure was scheduled for the next morning. I barely slept. Luke was calm, even joking with the nurses as they prepped him for the donation. Never thought I would be giving my bone marrow to a guy I met yesterday, he teased, then looked at Daniel and added softly, but I am glad it is him. The hours crawled by, but eventually it was done. The transplant went smoothly. Daniel was moved to a recovery room while the new stem cells began their life-saving work. I sat by his bed holding his hand, feeling the warmth returning to his skin. For the first time in months, his face had a hint of color. Luke came in later, looking tired but content, and Daniel reached out weakly to clasp his brother's arm. You just gave me a second chance, he whispered. Luke smiled and said, guess we are even now. You gave me family. I could not stop the tears this time. For months I had carried so much fear, and so much loneliness. But now sitting there between these two men who had found each other against all odds, I felt something I had not dared to feel in so long. Peace. Outside the window, Nashville's skyline shimmered under the late evening lights, and I thought about how quickly life could shift from despair to hope, from loss to gain, sometimes in just a matter of days. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to breathe deeply and believe that Daniel was going to survive, and that we had been given a gift far greater than we had ever asked for. The days following the transplant felt like stepping into a new world. Daniel's body responded well. Each morning, I watched for the tiniest signs, a bit more color in his cheeks, a steadier tone to his voice, a stronger grip when he held my hand. Luke stayed nearby, sleeping on an old pull-out chair in the waiting area. He never complained. One evening, I brought him a cup of coffee and found him staring at Daniel through the glass, a look of quiet awe on his face. "He is really my brother," he said softly, as if still convincing himself. A week later, Daniel was discharged, and we returned to our little wooden house on the edge of Nashville. This time with Luke following in his old pickup truck, a permanent addition to our lives. The house felt different now, fuller somehow, like it had been waiting for this reunion all along. In the weeks that followed, Luke became a regular presence. He and Daniel would sit on the porch in the evenings, Luke filling in gaps about their mother, their early years, the siblings Daniel had never met. One evening, Luke handed Daniel a small worn pocket knife with their father's initials carved into the handle. "It is all I have left of him," Luke said quietly. "I want you to have it." Daniel held it with shaking hands, tears slipping silently down his cheeks. Months passed and Daniel grew stronger. His laugh returned. He started building furniture in the garage again, slower than before, but with that same spark of creativity he had always carried. One evening he pulled me outside to the porch where a brand new rocking chair sat, crafted with careful precision. "For you," he said simply. I sat down and felt tears blur my vision as I rocked gently, the chair creaking with a familiar warmth. We also welcomed Luke into our traditions. Sunday dinners became a staple, filled with laughter and quiet gratitude. Sometimes I would catch Daniel and Luke looking at each other with these half smiles, like they still could not quite believe they had found each other. One particularly golden autumn evening, Daniel and I walked along a tree-lined road near Pine Hollow hand in hand. Watching leaves swirl in the breeze, Luke was ahead of us laughing. Daniel squeezed my hand gently. "You know," he said, "I used to think being an orphan meant I would always be alone. But I was wrong. I have you. And now I have him too." I looked at him, feeling the truth of those words settle deep in my chest. "Family is not always about blood, Danny," I whispered. "But sometimes it is, and it is beautiful." That night, as we sat around a small bonfire behind Luke's house, the flames casting soft glows on everyone's faces, I felt something I had not felt in so long, a calm certainty that we were going to be okay. Life had broken us down, but it had also put us back together in ways we never expected. I rested my head on Daniel's shoulder, listening to Luke telling a story, and I thought to myself, this is it. This is what healing feels like. Our story had begun in despair, but it did not end there. It ended with family, with second chances, with a brother found, and a life renewed. Now I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want to hear your answer. Have you ever been in a moment so dark that you could not imagine a way through, and then something happened? Something so unlikely, so unexpected, that it changed everything. Drop your city in the comments and tell me which moment in this story hit you the hardest. Was it when Luke opened the door and Daniel saw his face for the first time? Was it when Luke said, "I will do it"? I do not even need to think about it. Or was it when Daniel held that pocket knife and finally understood he had never truly been alone. I read every single comment, and I want to celebrate this story with you. If this story gave you something today, please hit the like button right now. It helps more people find stories like this one. Subscribe to Jennifer's Story for new episodes every week. And the next story, already on your screen right now, is about a woman who drove 2 hours on a desperate hope and found something that changed not just one life, but an entire family. Stay right there. You need to hear it.